Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I'm sitting in front of my movie wall, and I have on my Justice League shirt. It's kind of hard to see, but there it is. And today, I'm actually going to be talking about Justice League. Justice League came out just a couple of years ago, 2017, I think. This is 2018, almost 2019, so we're kind of getting on. Aquaman is actually due out next year, and so just kind of wanted to kind of go through Justice League and just kind of make sure that people understand like what the movie was about and everything about it. And so, first up, I always list the credits. As you know, this movie was directed by Zack Snyder, stars Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Jeremy Irons, Diane Lane, Connie Nielsen, J.K. Simmons, and Karen Hines as Steppenwolf. A lot of people kind of look at Justice League in kind of a negative light, and it's actually been brewing for a long time in terms of being an actual film. It's actually been in development hell for a very long time. Back when they had the original Batman series, that is the series that was being directed by Joel Schumacher when they had Batman and Robin. They had originally thought, when they were recasting Brendan Ruth as Superman to play in Superman Returns, they were going to try to connect their universes then. Superman and Batman and all that, they were going to have the Batman v Superman movie, because they were going to have let me see, I'm trying to remember here. They were going to have another Batmans. They have Batman Forever, they have Batman and Robin, and then they were supposed to have a third Batman film that Joel Schumacher was going to do. And in that film, he was going to have Brendan Ruth show up in Gotham City as Superman, and then that would kind of lead to the conflict between Batman and Superman, which is one of the reasons why in the I Am Legend movie that came out back in the day, it actually showed the Batman v Superman logo, because they were trying to get people hyped up about a Batman versus Superman movie. Now, we all know what happened. It never happened, and they ended up rebooting it in 2012 with Man of Steel. And Man of Steel, don't get me wrong, Man of Steel was a wonderful film, and I really, really enjoyed that film. I loved Michael Shannon as General Zod. He was such a great, great guy. I love what they did with the characterization of Superman. He was such a great character. He had good charisma. He was a wonderful character to watch. One other thing that I think a lot of people kind of get down on with these movies is that if you look at the Marvel films, Marvel did Iron Man, then Iron Man 2, then Incredible Hulk, then Thor, then Captain America, then the Avengers. So they had a good lineup of characters. They brought in Natasha Romanoff, they brought in Clint Barton, they had the Hulk, they had all their main characters, and then they said, okay, now let's make an ensemble movie. In this one, they kind of threw some of the characters into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and they haven't really connected any of their universes together, which surprises me, because, like, if you've watched the Flash on the CW, it's not the same Flash that's in this movie. Same name, different character. Because they subscribed, they went to the multiverse theory. And then I think Arrow is in the same universe as the Flash, but Supergirl is in a completely different universe, even though they had the Flash come in to her universe because he was testing out his speed in the Speed Force. And it's like, wait, so you had this Man of Steel movie, and then you created Supergirl, and you didn't think to connect the two? Like, that would have been freaking awesome to have had in your mind, have had maybe, like, you mention this gal, and you have her, you connect the two together in Man of Steel, so that when you create a TV show, kind of like how Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes follows the events of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it takes place right after the Avengers in 2012. And the whole first season, okay, they're kind of dealing with the fallout of everything that happened in the Avengers. And people, revealing themselves. And then at the end, the events of Captain America Civil War, you have, or sorry, Captain America the Winter Soldier, not Civil War. Civil War is the third movie in the film franchise. And it's like at the end of that movie, they have Black Widow dump everything out onto the internet, and it was revealed that Hydra was growing inside of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so you had this like huge fallout for like 2 episodes of all of these people being revealed as villains, and you're like, what? I really like that character. What? No! It was almost Game of Thrones-esque. I mean, it was really quite interesting to watch. But that was something that DC has not done with their universe. They just haven't really connected it together. Because they just decided, you know what, it's the multiverse, we're just gonna, do it that way. In fact, we didn't get the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe until Doctor Strange. We kind of knew it was lurking out there, but Doctor Strange really kind of showed us the multiverse, okay? Which is, different universes existing simultaneously, one next to the other, and you can move through them. Doctor Strange can move through them, and so this universe is Doctor Strange, and the DC universe is the Flash. Now, that brings up an interesting point. So we're going to start getting into this a little bit here. We're gonna unpack this a little bit. One of the things is, if you have not yet seen Justice League, I would go get this and go watch it. It is such a great film. And I would get Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Cut. Because Zack Snyder said that during the production process, he'd had a few extra scenes that he wanted to keep in, that kind of explained the pacing, explained the plot. But like a lot of things, studios step in and say, no, you can't do that, you have to do it our way. And so it was a lot of studio interference. So Zack Snyder then afterwards said, you know what, screw you guys, I'm going to release an ultimate cut, and I'm going to put back in the footage that was cut, because it explains the plot better. And it also explained who's going to be the villain in this movie, because there's a scene where Lex Luthor is sitting in the birthing chamber where Doomsday was born, and he's like standing there, and you see he's communicating with this guy. It's Steppenwolf, and he's holding 3 boxes in between his hands, like this. He's got 3 boxes, okay? And that's the plot of this film, okay? Now, Wonder Woman came out a little while ago, and it was such a great film, and a lot of people were, excited because it was just a female superhero film. That's all it was. It was a superhero film. It was kind of like Captain America, the First Avenger, where they went back in time. They showed her kind of coming out to the world, leaving the island, doing all that stuff, and she comes into a world of war. David Thewlis, the guy who played Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter series, plays Ares, the god of war, and it was such a great film. Like, it did such a good job of telling the story of Wonder Woman, and that's what I'm hoping out of Aquaman. I mean, I've seen the first preview, and it looks pretty good, because it's kind of like in this one we have Aquaman kind of being the typical loner, I'm not gonna do anything, and he's like, and Batman's kind of like, oh, that's the opposite of the saying, because he's like, the best is strongest alone. He's like, that's not even a saying. That's the opposite of the saying. What the heck are you trying to say? And so he's standing there, and he's just like, but he kind of gets the value of being able to work with people. So I think one of the biggest things I think that this movie did really, really well is that, kind of like Batman v Superman, it introduces us to a couple of new characters, and it does so in a way that it isn't just thrust upon us, and that's, I think, a lot of people think it is, and it's not. So if you actually go watch this film, again, even if you've seen it once before and you watch it again, you'll see that the story actually is really well told. Um, like Cyborg, they explain his origin with the mother box that the men had. They explain his origin with, um, they explain his powers, how he got his powers, how his powers are growing. Same thing with Aquaman. They kind of explain his character a little bit more in this one. And it's not your typical Arthur Curry orange vest, green pants, riding, surfing on dolphins kind of crap. It's not anything like that. Like, he's holding his own against Steppenwolf with, with Wonder Woman. I mean, they're punching him, and he's got his trident. He's in there, hitting him. They're fighting and stuff. I mean, it was a great action film. It had really good, really well scripted action. And we get to see. I mean, it was so funny because Steppenwolf is like, "I'm going to be a god," and you're like, and it's like right as he's like punching Wonder Woman, he's like, "You can't stop me from being a god." He's like punching her, and I'm like, "Do you know who you're fighting? She's literally the God Killer." If you've seen Wonder Woman, which you haven't, Steppenwolf, because you've been in exile, but she's literally the God Killer. She's the daughter of Zeus. Okay? Hello? And the way that they brought back Superman in this one was well done. It wasn't like they did it in the comics. So, if anyone knows, the death of Superman was a comic that a lot of people read back in the day, and it was over a series of different things. And I actually have the collected story of the death of Superman because I had never actually read the death of Superman, the original comic when it came out back in the day, because I was like, how could you kill off Superman? That doesn't make any sense. And if you read it within the context of the comics, what they did was they said that basically Superman had to use every last ounce of his strength and his energy to beat Doomsday, because Doomsday was just that powerful. Okay, and then the way they brought him back was a little weird. They had like 4 people show up. They had Man of Steel Man, which was Steel, which was John Henry. They had Superboy, which was kind of like a younger version of Clark. They had Cyborg, and they had one other one, and I can't remember all the different ones that they had. They were all like different facets of the personality of Superman somehow, and then they all came together or something, and some people came together and made Superman, and he became Superman. It was odd. It was because a lot of people were like, you can't kill off Superman. He's our favorite DC superhero outside of Batman. You can't kill him off. I mean, it's like they have 3 main properties, okay? Which is actually what's on my shirt. They have Superman on this side, they have Wonder Woman on this side, and they have Batman in the middle, okay? You can't kill those people off and expect everybody to be, yay, hunky-dory, Because, like, even with, like, Captain America, when it wasn't Steve Rogers, it was someone. And they explained it in such a way that you were like, yes, that is the person. But see, Superman is Superman. No one in the DC universe can be Superman except Kal-El. Okay? You can't do it. I mean, you can have different Batmans, but you can only have one Wonder Woman, and you can only have one Superman. That's it. That's all you get. So, people were clamoring, bring him back. You can't just leave him dead. So they did, okay, in the comics. And like I said, I have never read Superman at all. This is the only one that I ever really read was the death of Superman. And like I said, I have the collected works as a graphic novel. So, yeah. So Zack Snyder in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, yes, he explains that he's creating using General Zod's body, okay, using his own blood, using some various things in the Genesis chamber. He creates Doomsday, okay, an aberration from Krypton, okay, and Superman sacrifices himself, and they explain it because he's got the spear, the Kryptonian spear that Batman makes, and he stabs it through Doomsday's heart, and Doomsday stabs him through the heart, and they basically kill each other. Okay. which I thought was actually a little bit more dramatic than just the two of them pound, 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 pound. Like, oh, low energy, my one weakness. No, they actually explained it in universe using the Kryptoni, the pieces of Krypton in the spear. Okay, that actually really kind of explains. Oh my gosh, he was weak enough because of the radiation coming from the spear tip when he stabbed it through Doomsday's heart, and he was weak enough that Doomsday was able to pierce his skin with his hand because she cuts it off and a little bone spear comes out. And when she chopped off his hand and then the bone spur grew out, I thought, oh, I wonder if he's gonna stab Superman with that. Yup. So yeah, so we get the Justice League, and it was kind of funny because there was a kid that was like a huge Superman fan. I mean, he had like a Superman backpack, he had like a Superman shirt, he had like a hat with the S on the back, and I'm sure it had the S on the front and stuff like that. Total Superman fan. And this kid, during the panel at Comic-Con, they didn't have Henry Cavill up on the panel. They wanted to highlight the main characters, and everybody knew Superman was coming back because Henry Cavill was part of the cast. Okay, they were trying to hide the fact that he was in there, but they can't really do it. And so he's standing there and he's like, and so people were asking questions, and one person was like, so how's Superman gonna return? And and Jason Momoa, it's like Gal Gadot's like, well, we're not supposed to really and then it's like she's trying to stutter over her answers because she can't like blurt it out, like, here's how Superman's gonna come back. So she's trying to dance around it, but she's doing it in a stuttering way, and Jason Momoa goes, he's dead. Total Jason Momoa, like, he's dead. And so this Superman fan, this boy, is probably, 10, between 10 and 15. And he walks up to Jason Momoa and he's like, is Superman really dead? And Jason Momoa leaned over and he goes, no, he's coming back in this one. Don't worry about it. He's coming back. Yeah. So, he was coming back. But, I mean, how they did it, I think, was actually really well done. Because they use Amy Adams in such a way that it explains, because he's human. He's Kryptonian, yes, but he was raised by humans. He was literally an infant when he arrived on the planet, and he was raised by human parents. And so those people loved him and nurtured him and taught him to keep his powers in check. And that's one of the things that Ben Affleck as Batman mentions in this movie, is he says he lived here. Like, he was raised as a human. In spite of all of those powers, he was raised with compassion, with leadership, with restraint. I don't have that. Batman acknowledging that he doesn't have the control to be able to be the leader that this team needs, that's powerful. That's something that I think a lot of people missed in this film because they were like, the CGI sucks. It didn't. It actually was really well done. Yeah, there were some moments where you did notice that, yes, they were against a blue screen or a green screen. And yes, they were, doing this. 300 had the same thing. No one was complaining then. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice had that. No one was complaining then. Hell, Suicide Squad had that. No one was complaining then. Every single superhero movie today is heavily reliant on CGI. It's just how it is. I mean, hell, Avengers Infinity War? My God, Thanos is CGI. And they're like that close to making it, the Uncanny Valley, disappear. Okay? Like, I mean, they had some close-ups of him where you could see the ridges on his chin, and he's got stubble. Razor stubble, people. I don't know how he shaves, but he's got stubble. That's pretty damn impressive, okay, for CGI. Now, was this up to that level? No. Because they were trying to get the movie out in front of audiences, okay? And when you do that, yes, rushing and all that kind of stuff, the CGI tends to come out. But again, does it detract from the story? No, it doesn't. It really doesn't detract from the story. that's one thing I think that people kind of forget is that it, CGI is a tool and it's used to help tell the story. If the story's really well done and really well written, it's dynamite. And that's the one thing about this is it actually is really well written story. Okay, I mean I think what a lot of people missed was that with Cyborg, with Flash, they were basically saying that we have these characters and we don't know much about them. Okay, they're both discovering their powers, how fast they can move, how fast they can go. Like there was one thing where, the Flash was running in one direction and he realizes he's running in the wrong direction. So then he runs back and he's like, okay, this is definitely east, and he's running. And then Superman flies alongside of him and he's like, you know, and he's like, slowpoke, and he's like running. He's like, oh, it's on, like that's, and then they're like, whew, and then because the thing is that when the Flash is at his full potential and he's running the fastest that he can run, he can actually break the dimensional barriers between the different multiverses. Okay, this Flash doesn't know he's that fast yet, and that's why they have at the very end they have the scene where he's like, and then he's like lighting the little firecracker and flicking it off of his fingers, and he's getting ready to run because he wants to race Superman. I know in the original Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, they had him fly around the Earth so many times that it actually reversed the rotation and reversed time. That's not how that works. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why the Richard Donner left the production of Superman was because they told him to refilm the ending. And he did, and he was like, that is the dumbest ending I have ever seen for a Superman movie. Ever. Because that's not how time works. That's not how it works. You can't re-rotate the Earth backwards a number of times. You'd have to figure out how to travel backwards in time. You can't re-rotate, like you can't make the Earth reverse its spin and reverse time that way. It doesn't work like that. Time flows ever forward. It doesn't flow backwards. If you leave the timeline and you end up back in that timeline, then you can do that. And that's one of the things that people complained about. So I think that's one of the reasons why people don't understand this is that the Flash hasn't discovered all of his powers yet. He's not the Flash that we know. Okay? He's brand new to this. Okay? He even says that. He goes, I usually just push people and run away because he's not a fighter. He was never really a fighter until he started learning, man, I'm getting my butt kicked. Even though I'm running at super speeds, certain things make me trip. Certain things happen to me. I need to be able to defend myself. And that's the point. Okay? Same thing with Cyborg. Cyborg doesn't realize his powers yet. Okay? I'm interested to see if they actually come out with a Cyborg movie. I think it would be really interesting to have a solo Cyborg movie where we see him, like really discovering his powers. And that's one of the things, like the ending shows kind of a montage of the heroes going back to their lives. And it shows Bruce Wayne walking into Wayne Manor, and he walks into the great dining hall of Wayne Manor, and he looks down the long corridor, and he's like, yeah, I see a huge table right there in the center with room for 6, with 6 chairs around it. And then Diana walks up behind him and says, with room for more. And he's like, definitely with room for more. They're setting up the Justice League, guys. That's kind of what they did in the original Avengers. At the end of the film, they had the Avengers A with, from Stark. Okay? And they purposefully left that on the building for a reason. Oh, and by the way, Joss Whedon, the guy that actually ran the Avengers movie, yeah, he rewrote some of the scripts for this, and I'm sure a lot of the humor that was in it, because it was that subtle humor, the one that Joss Whedon is very known for, that offhanded comment that people say with the timing, with everything, that's that comedic timing right there. Okay? That's Joss Whedon. If you've ever seen Firefly, if you've ever seen the Avengers, that's Joss Whedon. Okay? And I'm sure the stab from Batman at Wonder Woman in this movie about about Steve Trevor, was Joss Whedon as well, because that's what he does. Okay, to connect the universe at large, that's how he does it. All right. Well, I'm just gonna go out and say it. This movie's entertaining as hell. Okay, it's really good. In fact, I kind of watched it a while back, and I was like, it's a good movie. And then I hadn't seen it for a while, so I decided to pull it down last night, and I watched it, and I went, this movie's really, really well done. They did a very good job with it. So I'm gonna give it 5 out of 5 because I think Zack Snyder nailed it on this one. Um, you know, and I've talked about some of the problems. I've talked about some of the things. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. And I'll have a few more reviews up here. I've just been busy with my schooling and various other things, so just bear with me. I'm still trying to get things written out, and eventually I will do a wrong side. I will do a Bond review. As you can see, this is Bond behind me. So, all right. So thank you for watching Russ's Movie Corner, and have a wonderful day.